There's just something about slowing it all down and reconnecting to the land and the rhythm of this land. I guess would be the best way I could describe that. My name is Natassia Brazeau, and I own Northlore Goods. So this is my garden where I grow herbs for Northlore. Northlore is my wildcrafted body care company. So I make body care products from plants that grow on the prairie provinces, and I try to focus on these plants as much as possible. My goal is for it to be as sustainable as possible. So a lot of the ingredients that I source are from the prairie provinces, and things like clays and oils and mineral salts, things that would normally be shipped from exotic locations all over the world. I'm trying to kind of highlight what we have in Canada, what's available to us here. The lore was just sort of a nod to all of the history of humans and plant use in this area. So it's basically been a way of kind of highlighting how people have lived closely to the land and used these plants for various uses for thousands of years here. We're in Treaty 6 territory. I'm located right outside Saskatoon and close to the South Saskatchewan River. I have really generous neighbors that have kind of let me wander all of the land around here. So there's a lot of native prairie grassland as well as some treed areas, so quite a lot of variety for plants in this area. One of the things that inspired me to start Northlore was actually realizing that I couldn't name any of the surrounding plants in terms of what would be edible. So that was sort of what sparked it. And it was a bit of a culmination of different interests. So I kind of grew up making a lot of my own body care products, and I got into soap making when I was younger. And after moving back onto this acreage property where I grew up, I started discovering a lot of information about different native plant species in the area, and that eventually led to discovering the different properties in the plants and what they could be used for. So I kind of combined my interests at that point and started learning how I could use these different plants in products that I would give to friends and family, and eventually sort of grew into this. I don't have a formal education in herbalism or anything related, but kind of years of being self-taught and attending different workshops and meeting with people, and kind of generally trying to learn as much as I can about the plants that grow in this area. So there's lots of knowledge about herbs generally, but as I zoned in specifically to things that grow on the prairies, the majority of my education has come from kind of cross-referencing different plant guides and a lot of Indigenous knowledge that's been passed down, and basically whatever I can find people that are familiar with the prairie provinces and the plants that grow here. Most of the plants are collected from the kind of the Saskatoon area, although I'll do lots of trips out to different areas of the province and also into Alberta and Manitoba a bit. And it's mostly a process of finding out enough about a plant that I can learn kind of how it can be used, and then I like to use a lot of different folk methods for extracting. A lot of those methods are effective and they work, but they're slow. They can often be dismissed as folklore in that way that they're not true, they're not effective, they don't work, and yet a lot of these methods have been proven to work. People still distill, just generally not on as small of a scale as I'm doing currently. I have a copper alembic still, which is an old traditional still. It was made in Portugal. It's the same kind of still they've been using for thousands of years. So it's a natural steam distillation process. So I'll use that for making hydrosols of various plants. I also do solar lunar infusions, setting the plants out in the sun in oil to infuse the properties into the oil. Lunar infusion was something that people used to practice really regularly, which was just generally living within the cycle of the moon. So planting schedules would often be lined up with the moon, and in the same way, I'll infuse the solar infusion for a full moon cycle. So it turns out to be the perfect amount of time to kind of extract the properties without heating the oil up to do that really quickly. So again, it's just a really slow practice, something that's sort of been dismissed, something that has had a lot of superstition attached to it. But I wanted to sort of resurrect the practice, and there's something, really special and magical about connecting these processes to the natural cycles that happen, that just naturally occur around us. A little ground squirrel fight. There are certain products that I only make seasonally, that are only available when those plants are available. I only harvest as much as I am able to, as much as it's available to me. I'm really careful about where I wildcraft from. I make sure that there are healthy plant populations, and so as a result, there are some seasons where if I haven't come across enough of a certain plant, I just won't make that particular product. I really love that the kinds of people that give me feedback are the type of people that I'm finding take the time to kind of give me a thoughtful response. So people will often send emails or Instagram messages and kind of let me know exactly how they've connected with that product and what it reminds them of. And I've had a lot of people express interest in the process. There's a lot of knowledge that just hasn't been passed down as a result of colonization in our country, as well as, just as I'd mentioned before, this notion that anything that takes too long or is maybe too involved of a process is so easily dismissed. And I just felt that there was so much value in slowing the whole process down, kind of paying attention to the cycles that happen naturally in the seasons. And so for me, it was a way of connecting deeper to the plants and the land that I grew up on. A lot of the research that I do is quite often traditional methods that have been passed down orally, so that someone's recorded. So there's often a mix of folklore and kind of medicine and different treatments, and it's all, what I love about it is that it's very cyclical. And so this notion of it being like women's work sort of is actually quite captivating. It kind of feels like it reconnects me to this long lineage of people that have done this for centuries. And so, that's definitely a very captivating idea.